This is a real tweet from the official Vegas Golden Knights Twitter account. In 2017, the Vegas Golden Knights tweeted out the Bruins lineup using women's names in a sexist attempt to mock them. This same organization will now be sharing an arena with the PWHL team, and many women's hockey fans are not happy about it. As we speak, the Vegas Golden Knights have just swept the Colorado Avalanche and will now compete in the Stanley Cup Finals, and honestly, watching these highlights just pissed me off. Shame on Carter Hart. Shame on the Vegas Golden Knights organization. Shame on his teammates. Shame on all of those fans cheering for him. And shame on the PWHL for putting a team in this market. Now, some people think fans only hate the Golden Knights because they signed Carter Hart in 2025 and continue to defend him. And yes, we are going to talk about that. But this goes way beyond one player. Since day one, the Golden Knights have built a reputation for disrespect. Towards women, towards their own players and staff, towards the NHL's rules, and even towards the media covering their own team. And the worst part, they keep winning and getting rewarded for it. At this point, hating the Golden Knights is the one thing that unites all hockey fans. But this video isn't just about dunking on the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm making this video because I love the PWHL, and I think it's important to talk about what it means for the PWHL to partner with one of the most hated organizations in hockey. Here are 5 reasons why everyone hates the Vegas Golden Knights and what that could mean for PWHL Las Vegas. Hey, I'm 365. I talk about PWHL every day. I normally make short videos, but the more I learned about this Vegas Golden Knights situation, the more I realized I had to make a long video because I was like, I cannot fit all of this into a TikTok. Now, initially, I wanted to give PWHL Vegas a chance because I didn't think it was fair to hate the women's team just because of the men's team. The Las Vegas Aces are one of the most successful teams in the WNBA, and Las Vegas has shown that they have great women's sports fans. Yet, the reality of the situation is the PWHL is choosing to go into business with the Vegas Golden Knights, one of the most hated organizations in all of hockey. While the Vegas Golden Knights do not own PWHL Vegas, the teams will be playing in the same rink, doing cross-promotion, and ultimately, when the PWHL does decide to sell their teams, I would not be surprised if the Vegas Golden Knights became the owners of PWHL Las Vegas. The PWHL has built their brand by selling a culture that is more inclusive than the NHL, but by associating with the Golden Knights, the PWHL will receive bad press and will be complicit in perpetuating toxic hockey culture. Hopefully y'all understand the gravity of the situations we're dealing with here, so with that, let's get into the 5 reasons, okay? And just stick with me here because these reasons will seem disconnected at first, but I promise you at the end, it'll all tie together. The first reason people hate the Vegas Golden Knights is because they always win. Now, the Vegas Golden Knights are an expansion team that started playing in 2017. They were instantly very competitive due to the NHL expansion rules, and they have only missed out on the playoffs once in their 9-season history. They won the Stanley Cup in 2023. As I'm recording this, the Vegas Golden Knights have just swept the Colorado Avalanche and have clinched their spot in the Stanley Cup Final. Hating sports teams that are good, especially expansion teams, is a very normal sports thing, and that would not be bad in and of itself, but it's not just the winning that makes the Golden Knights hated. It's the fact that they do terrible things and then get rewarded for it. Also, the more people hate on them, the more the hate just seems to make them stronger. Reason number 2 is the salary cap loophole. The Vegas Golden Knights are viewed as cheaters because they have used a long-term injured reserve loophole to get around the salary cap. This allows them to sign really good players for the playoffs. Here's how it works. The salary cap is the maximum amount of money that a team can spend on player salaries. So in 2023, Mark Stone, captain of the Vegas Golden Knights, was placed on LTIR in January. LTIR stands for long-term injured reserve. So when a player is on LTIR, their salary doesn't count towards your salary cap. The Golden Knights were able to use this extra cap space to sign even more really good players, but when it came time for the postseason, Mark Stone was miraculously better for Game 1. So the loophole is that the salary cap doesn't apply in the postseason. So they were basically able to spend more money on player salaries than any other team. Now what makes this worse is that 2023, the year that they used this loophole, that's literally the year that they won the playoffs. And then they did the same loophole again in 2024 with Mark Stone on LTIR again. So the NHL actually closed this loophole as of 2025, so they can't do it anymore. But yeah, I think that just adds insult to injury, especially with their cup win in 2023. Reason 3 is their ruthless treatment of players and coaches. They're known for firing people really abruptly, such as coaches like Gerald Gallant and Bruce Cassidy. The Vegas Golden Knights fired head coach Bruce Cassidy with just 8 games remaining this year in the 2025-2026 NHL regular season. Bruce Cassidy is a coach who literally won the Stanley Cup with the Vegas Golden Knights, but it was looking that the Golden Knights weren't going to be able to make it to the playoffs, so they fired him and brought in John Tortorella, who did turn the team around and got them to the NHL playoffs. The firing of Bruce Cassidy is extremely relevant to this year's playoffs, and I promise I will get to it later in this video, but right now I'll focus on a more historical example involving Marc-Andre Fleury, aka everybody's favorite goalie. Marc-Andre Fleury was really well known for playing on the Pittsburgh Penguins, but he uprooted his entire life to sign with Vegas in the expansion draft. He had the best season of his career in the 2020-2021 season. At the age of 36, Fleury recorded a career best 1.98 goals against average and a .928 save percentage, led them to the semifinals of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and won the Vezina Trophy, which is given to the best goaltender in the NHL. Despite his outstanding season, did Fleury make some mistakes during the Vegas Golden Knights Cup run that year? Maybe, but then again, this is a guy who's already won 3 Stanley Cups. I wouldn't judge his entire capabilities based on a few mistakes, but apparently the Golden Knights did because they traded him away in a completely disrespectful way. Fleury was traded to the Chicago Blackhawks in exchange for a minor league forward, which is basically nothing. And then the Golden Knights didn't even tell Fleury about the trade. He found out about it from Twitter. Fleury's agent literally posted this picture on Twitter. Yes, that's Marc-Andre Fleury photoshopped getting stabbed in the back. Reason number 4. I promise this will all make sense. Vegas Golden Knights treat media poorly and are petty towards the NHL. Even the actual NHL seems to hate the Vegas Golden Knights. This organization literally has beef with its own league. So the Golden Knights are in the playoffs right now as I'm recording in May of 2026. So what happened? Coach John Tortorella did not make himself available to media after their Game 6 win over the Anaheim Ducks on May 14 of 2026. Mind you, they literally won the playoff series in this game. According to Sportsnet Elliot Friedman, the Golden Knights were frustrated by Brayden McNabb's 1-game suspension for interference, leading to the stunt. So this was kind of like a gotcha. But then, the NHL fined coach John Tortorella $100,000 and took away the team's 2nd-round draft pick, which is a huge deal, okay? But this is not the only instance of the Vegas Golden Knights mistreating the media and refusing to take accountability for their actions, which brings me to reason number 5, which is Carter Hart. This isn't just about Carter Hart. This is about the Vegas Golden Knights and their history of signing players who have extremely troubling past, whether it be sexual assault or even racism. Let's first talk about Carter Hart and the 2018 Hockey Canada sexual assault incident, which had a trial in 2025. What was the incident? In 2025, 5 hockey players were charged with sexual assault. Alex Formenton, Dylan Dubé, Michael McLeod, Cal Foote, and Carter Hart. The incident was a group sexual assault that occurred in 2018, where members of the 2018 Canada World Juniors team assaulted a woman in her hotel room. This was one of the biggest trials in all of Canada. World Juniors is an annual tournament for men's hockey players under 20 years old. The victim is a woman known as EM. EM and Michael McLeod met at a bar after a Hockey Canada event. EM was intoxicated and went with McLeod to the hotel to have consensual sex. After that, 4 more men entered the room and assaulted her. All 5 men in the trial were acquitted, but that does not mean that they didn't do it. There was an entire group chat where the hockey players were trying to get their story straight. They also forced the victim to record a video saying that she consented. If you want more details and an exact timeline, Neil Dine made a really good video about it, so I highly recommend watching that. The main focus of this video here today will be how the Vegas Golden Knights responded to this incident and handled Carter Hart. The Vegas Golden Knights acquired Carter Hart in 2025 because nobody else wanted him because of the sexual assault trial. But because no other teams wanted him, that meant that Vegas Golden Knights could sign him to a relatively cheap contract that was $2 million average annual value. There was significant fan backlash as a petition urging the Golden Knights not to sign him received over 2,000 signatures. When Mark Lazarus, a reporter from The Athletic, wanted to ask the coach about signing Carter Hart, the team declined to allow head coach Bruce Cassidy to speak to him after learning of the topic. Several minutes later, before Cassidy began a news conference, the spokesperson pulled the reporter out of the room and told him to leave the team's practice facility immediately. The Athletics' press pass for that evening's preseason game was revoked. When the Vegas Golden Knights signed Carter Hart, they were kind of just taking a chance on him. They didn't know if he was actually going to be that good. But what makes this whole situation even worse is that Carter Hart has been playing really well. He's literally their starting goaltender in the playoffs right now. Carter Hart really didn't even get that many starts until after Bruce Cassidy was fired and they hired John Tortorella. John Tortorella has made it very clear that Carter Hart is his starting goaltender. Carter Hart has been the starter all through playoffs, and this isn't a coincidence. Carter Hart previously played for the Philadelphia Flyers before this whole sexual assault trial came to light. And guess who was the coach of Carter Hart with the Philadelphia Flyers? That's right, John Tortorella. But then again, this isn't just about Carter Hart. This is, after all, a team that drafted Trevor Connolly in the first round in 2024. Trevor Connolly underwent diversity training and volunteer work after posting an image on Snapchat depicting a friend posing in front of building blocks in the shape of a swastika. They also signed Kai Uchets after he was passed up in the draft for racist actions directed towards a teammate in junior hockey. He was removed from the Seattle Thunderbirds roster ahead of the 2020-2021 season due to racially motivated bullying of the team's lone black player, Mackay Sanders. Uchets and other players reportedly taunted Sanders horribly, calling him a racial slur and waving a banana in front of him, according to the Seattle Times. Uchets currently plays for the Henderson Silver Knights. The team also signed Brett Howden, who was not charged in the 2018 Hockey Canada trial, which again was the one that Carter Hart was involved in, but he was on the team and he did testify in court as he was present in the room of the incident and also in the group chat where him and the other players were trying to get their story straight. When we talk about toxic hockey culture, this isn't just about the Golden Knights. This extends beyond just these players, beyond just this team, beyond the NHL, and even beyond men's hockey. There is a myth that the guys who commit sexual violence are just a few bad apples that need to be rehabilitated. But group sexual assaults like the one that occurred in 2018 are common. There was also an alleged group sexual assault by the 2003 Team Canada World Juniors team, and a 2014 OHL investigation of group sexual assault involving 8 players is still ongoing. As a result of the 2018 sexual assault trial that Carter Hart was involved in, it was discovered that Hockey Canada used secret funds to settle 21 sexual assault cases since 1989 for a total of 8.9 million Canadian dollars. There's a lot of focus on the wrongdoings of specific players, but how do we stop these wrongdoings from occurring in the first place? 3 things. First of all, junior hockey is a system where young men move away from home to play hockey. Education is deprioritized and there's often hazing and little oversight of coaches. The junior hockey system needs an overhaul to focus on helping boys grow into capable young men instead of just focusing on hockey. Number 2 is enforcing consequences for players who behave poorly. When the Vegas Golden Knights sign players like Hart, Connolly, and Uchets, this signals that there are no consequences for poor behavior, so it actually encourages the behavior from players. Number 3, we all need to be mindful about how we talk about women and how we talk about sexual assault. Think about the joke at the top of this video where they called the opposing team girls names. This type of joke creates a misogynistic environment where sexual assault becomes acceptable. It's not just about how we talk about sexual assault, but it's also about cases where we don't talk about sexual assault, choosing to partner with organizations. Those types of partnerships can speak louder than words. So we've established why everybody hates the Vegas Golden Knights. Is that really such a bad thing for the PWHL? Yes, for 3 reasons. Number 1, this does not align with the inclusive culture that the PWHL has already built. There is a common misconception that women's hockey is this perfect place that is completely separate from the ills of hockey culture at large. But the reality is that women's hockey is a part of hockey culture. PWHL Las Vegas and the Vegas Golden Knights will play in the same rink. They will have a partnership and they will share fans. The PWHL has marketed itself as an inclusive league with its Pride Nights and community efforts. What message does it send to fans that a women's hockey league is willing to be business partners with an organization who employs someone who was accused of sexual assault? I can really see this eroding the trust of fans and ultimately risking the reputation of the league. Now, I do want to clarify here, it sounds like I'm being really negative, and I am, but this comes from a place of love. I'm not trying to just be like dogging on the PWHL. I love the PWHL. I just genuinely do have concerns about how this is going to look. The second reason this gives me the ick is that we have seen this complicity in the patriarchy from women in hockey before. Women are constantly used to excuse the poor behavior of men. Think back to the men's hockey team phone call incident after the 2026 Olympics. If you've been living under a rock and you haven't seen this clip, basically what happened was that the US men's and women's hockey teams both won gold at the Olympics. After the men won gold, they were on the phone with Donald Trump in the locker room.
We're going to have to bring the women's team. You do know that.
Absolutely.
I do believe I probably would be impeached, okay?
Ellen Hughes, the mother of Quinn and Jack Hughes, defended them. And then Megyn Keller and Hillary Knight appeared on SNL alongside the Hughes brothers, where they joked back at them. But in my opinion, their appearance came off as forgiveness and downplayed the disrespect of the original joke. I also don't think we can ignore the race aspect here either. The PWHL is an overwhelmingly white league, and white women are known to prioritize whiteness and patriarchy over solidarity with other women. Finally, the Vegas Golden Knights organization just does not seem like a good business partner. Based on their ruthless and honestly disrespectful treatment of players, coaches, media, and the NHL itself, what would stop them from treating the PWHL in a similar fashion? The PWHL tends to have a move fast, break things approach to business, as evidenced from the rollout of the league in the 2024 season with no team names, as well as this extremely quick expansion. This approach has worked well so far, but I can't help but wonder if this is a short-sighted business decision. I was really excited when PWHL Las Vegas was announced. I'm excited for all the hockey fans in Las Vegas, and I personally think it'll be really fun to travel to Vegas to catch a game. I think it's awesome that the PWHL is expanding to an entirely new region in the Southwest, but a lot of fans have had a negative reaction to the PWHL partnering with the Vegas Golden Knights, and honestly, after doing all the research for this video, I think that reaction is totally warranted, and I have my own concerns. The Vegas Golden Knights have acted in the worst way possible, and yet they still got rewarded with the PWHL team. What do you think about PWHL Las Vegas? Am I overreacting? Let me know down in the comments.